everybody, welcome to the show today. This is a huge day that is going to mark in history, guys. Mike Johnson, first vote fails in the speaker vote. This is a big unity test for Trump's Republicans. But like I said, Johnson, same old, bends the knee to the Democrats instead of uniting his own Republican Party. We already have this video evidence now where he is speaking with Hakeem Jeffries, the minority speaker for the Democrats. Guys, I've got a lot of evidence to show you. This doesn't look good for the Republicans because, again, too, Mike Johnson, it just continues to fail in my eyes when it comes to having a backbone and being a leader for the Republican Party. But with that, Trump is now saying that this needs to happen. He said, we need to make Mike Johnson the speaker. People need to understand that the agenda has to take place. The Democrats want this, and we need to take action. But there's people that are against not only just Mike Johnson, but they say they're standing for country. Even Chip Roy, who actually came out to vote for Johnson, said that he got a call from Trump. The biggest issue now is that Johnson is, again, always going back to grovel to the Democrats to get their votes to become speaker. But when we look at the three individuals who voted against Johnson, Thomas Massie, Ralph Norman, and Keith Self, remember, Thomas Massie also had a fight with Trump, and Trump tried to primary Thomas Massie out of his position, but people chose Thomas Massie instead of the wishes of Donald Trump in his state. This is big trouble for the Republican Party because, again, they're not staying united, but I feel like this is good. This is important. We need to be able to have the right to vote and voice our opinions and not just always fall in line. Guys, I'm saying this even when it comes to Trump. I want Trump in more than anybody, but we need democracy. If we don't have this and people can't voice their opinions and voice what's happened, then we're no better than the Democrats. Right now, they're going through for the second vote, and they're trying these. We now have it where, again, too, guys, the breaking news is just coming all in that Keith Self, Ralph Norman have both changed their votes to Mike Johnson because they went and met with him. This now is going to allow him to be speaker, which is great. But again, too, we still saw the opposition in the beginning. We also have it where RFK Jr. has secured the votes to be the HHS secretary. So everybody get ready. The entire United States is about to be cleaned out big time. There's things that we allow in the United States that other countries abroad don't even allow, like yellow 5, red 40. These are food dyes that are known to have bad health issues. They cause bad health risk, and we allow these substances, but the UK doesn't. We also have it where our great and wonderful Vice President Kamala Harris was just asked to lead the Pledge of Allegiance today, and she actually forgot the words to the United States Pledge of Allegiance. You can't make this stuff up. I'll show you in the video in just a moment. Also, we have new evidence of the new tax cuts coming in, the tariffs that will be used to help secure the funding needed, and I've got the charts to show you. It's going to blow your mind of why every country in the world is essentially screwing the United States and why Trump wants tariffs so bad. We got a ton of breaking news to show you today, guys. Trump's agenda is about to take place faster than ever. I want to say thank you to everybody that's watching. If you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button. And if you don't mind, click the thumbs up like button. It really does help to grow the channel. And thank you so much to all of our members of the channel. We appreciate your support so much. If you want to become a member, the link is in the description to join. And thank you to everybody that gives a super chat donation. We are so grateful for your support. I know that there's people that give it when we're not live. But guys, I want to say thank you so much. We are here to do good and bring good. But the breaking news now is that, again, too, Speaker Mike Johnson has secured the speakership. But there's more to the story of what's going to happen next. Check this out.
We're going to have to go through a great unmasking. If the moderates and the rhinos inside the Congress want to continue spending, they're going to have to make the justification of how this is done, just like they're going to have to make the justification on the legal immigration. We can't, to sort this mess out and to start this turnaround, we have to have frank conversations with ourselves. It's no longer can you live in this fantasy, you can just kick the can down the road. The can can't be kicked anymore. You're kind of up against it as far as the financial capability to continue to finance this. You're up against it with, obviously, with 12 to 15 million illegal alien invaders here. And she just went through the whole way they're trying to game the system to, well, you know, they get 2 or 3 judges and they can be here because they get a de novo review if you don't get the answer you want. Between the Federal Register and the laws, you look at the Dignity Act. Look what Salazar and those folks are trying to do that would codify monstrous changes to already monstrous laws on these visas to bury American citizens more. And the whole thing is about the dignity of the foreigners coming in here. Hey, we don't want to hit their dignity. It's not about being cruel or not being empathetic, but the bottom line is American citizens come first.
Yes.
American citizens come first. That is going to be, that's also, they're addicted to federal money. They're addicted to made-up money, fiat currency. The system is addicted to indentured servants. The global economic system is addicted to Lao Beijing slave labor. So slave labor in China, indentured servants here in the United States, brought in by foreigners, brought in by companies, are making a massive profit off of it. So these boils have to be lanced. It's not going to be pleasant, but it has to be done. And if this audience doesn't do it, it's not going to get done. And that will guarantee the ultimate demise of this American Republic. I'm going to leave you with the right stuff. Charlie Kirk.
Guys, I want to show you this. Do y'all hear all this? There's a lot of things that are in place right now. I want to show you that Ralph Norman and Kiesel just changed their votes to Mike Johnson to allow him to be the speaker. Johnson must have made some critical concessions with them because, again, too, a lot of these people will hold out so that they can get a promotion to be the head of a committee or whatnot. So that's where that's at. I do want to show you this too as well. The whole point of them trying to voice their opinions, voice their concerns, there's people that do not support Mike Johnson and what he's done. Thomas Massey, for instance, guys, look what he actually brought for his Republican members, freshman members of Congress. He brought them debt clocks. These are literally like little widget tools that are counting the debt that we're in right now. And this is, again, too, this is the issue, is that we keep falling in the same old, same old. Thank you so much, Ronald Zimmerman, for the super chat. Let's go. Y'all show Ronald Zimmerman some love in the chat. So a lot of people are saying, like, hey, if Mike Johnson doesn't do well, Trump's going to oust him. It's not as easy as you think. I want to show you they changed the rule today on how you oust a speaker. Check this out.
Lawmakers will vote on changing the House rules to make it harder to remove a speaker. This new rule requires 9 lawmakers to introduce a motion to vacate instead of the current rule of just 1. Former Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz used this process to oust former House Speaker Kevin McCarthy back in October of 23. The rule also states a member and their co-sponsors must be in the majority party, meaning only Republicans can introduce a vacate motion over the next 2 years, Congressman. Obviously, many Democratic House members have come out and they are opposed to this plan. Your reaction?
Well, they should be careful what they wish for. I think this is a good rule change. 9 members, I mean, you're talking about 4% of our body that has the ability to do that. I mean, that's a very small margin anyways. One person, as we saw in the last Congress, that could do that threw us into turmoil, which we don't need. I mean, this is a business show. I think people are watching, wanting our economy to be strong. They want us in Congress to give good indications that we are going to provide for the foundation, have a transparent and predictable horizon. And when you have one person who can oust a speaker that throws our country into turmoil, that's the chaos we don't need. So again, I think this is a good rule change, and I think we're on the right track to getting our country back into the health and into the strength that we know we can be.
Well, and I think, yes, we are a business program, and this has to do with budget cuts and spending and, the reconciliation packages and how are you going to get things done, in particular, whether it is the border or in particular how to deal with more than $36 trillion in debt and how Doge's recommendations are going to play into all of this. So there's a lot that's going to be coming once the certification process of the election, which hopefully is Monday, Monday will be done. So let's talk about your...
So again, too, now we know that January 6th, the Electoral College, they're going to certify the election of what happened for Donald Trump, for him to be officially, he's going to be elected president because, you know, they have to go through all the stipulations. Trump came out, and this is one of the things he said earlier was, good luck today for Speaker Mike Johnson, a fine man of great ability who is very close to having 100% support. A win for Mike today will be a big win for the Republican Party and yet another acknowledgement of our 129 most consequential presidential election. A big affirmation indeed, MAGA. So we know that Trump is all in on Mike Johnson. There's no doubt about that. The thing that we have to think about too is he going to be able to hold it? Because even, guys, check this out. They post a lot of good stuff. Wall Street Apes posted 100% of the entire establishment is controlled by blackmail, and that definitely includes Speaker Mike Johnson. Now, there's a lot of things that happen inside, Congress. There's things that we don't see. There's a lot of, we call them, rhinos and whatnot. But again, too, having the right person as speaker, they are the ones who bring things to the floor. There's a lot of things that I love that even Steve Bannon is bringing out that nobody has ever acknowledged before, but now we are bringing light to it and they can't deny it anymore. Check this out.
It's going to take it from here, a couple hours of populist nationalism. They'll be covering the actual vote in the 119th Congress. Remember, nothing can happen until...
Guys, I'm sorry, wrong one. I've got you right here. 1 second.
This is why we make the case that a central thing here, besides, in addition to the spending and the deportations, has to be the thinking in one whole thing of these legal immigration. They're all falling back on legal immigration. When you look at it, there is no legal immigration. This is why we've called for a 100% moratorium for President Trump to get Stephen Miller on it, and let's get through this and kind of come back with a report that, here's what's actually, these are all being gamed. The whole system's being gamed to the detriment of American citizens. And for the detriment of American citizens, not for a demonstrably better outcome. It's not that in every aspect of this, understanding diversity is our strength. That, and when you talk about diversity or strength, this is specifically targeted both at the illegal alien level and at all the visas, and particularly H-1B visas, at African American and Hispanics. This is why there are no African Americans or Hispanics of any kind of amount that numerically makes a difference in Silicon Valley or in tech jobs. Because you import the world. Invade the world, import the world.
Wow.
Or invade the world, invite the world, I guess it is. That's these fights that are going to go on, and these fights are going to get quite intense, and these fights are going to be first ourselves to make sure that we can get this sorted and that what's being put forward, if Johnson's your guy and you own Johnson, okay, and you didn't agree to any procedural changes, nothing on the Rules Committee, nothing on the on deficit reduction, nothing on debt ceiling, nothing on making sure these are budget neutrals, all that was off the table. I understand it. We'll see here in a few minutes. Starting at noon, you'll actually see what, if any, of the deals that were behind the scenes for days and days and days and days, if anything's been approved. If it hasn't, that's fine. We'll have to see what then you come up with. And we'll be, obviously, and this audience will be in the middle of this. And I realize a lot of people are sitting there going, my God, Bannon, we did all this work and we did everything and we won on the 5th and we're all, we want to party and we want to, we're taking Washington. Well, I'm trying to give you a reality check. I would love to sit there and pat you on the head and say, yes, this is all terrific. It's going to happen. But it's not going to happen unless you make it happen. Your agency makes it happen. Because we're inexorably pulled just the way the system is set up with the lords of easy money and the sociopathic overlords and the corporatists, these immense powers that control, don't call it the swamp, that's too cutesy, these immense powers that control your government and control this country. The vested interest that believe in the forever wars, believe in the continual printing of money, that the concentration of wealth that's come off of, basically turning the Federal Reserve into a way to increase liquidity so that the bond market and the stock market kind of are always flush, right, with cash from the printer. And as I've said, for every year you go through this, is you're decreasing your range of alternatives. And so now we are where we are. And we will have a monumental fight over this. That, folks, we know how to fight and we know how to win. But you got to pick your shots. Right now, the reality is there is not really an alternative. Now, if you stop Johnson and on the 5th ballot, alternatives might come up. But for all the Trump people out there, probably the most logical alternative they turn to is Emmer. Are you prepared to accept that? You prepared to accept that Emmer's never really been a Trump guy? Now, he would probably be better than Johnson. I don't know. It seems like he might be better. I don't know how you could get worse. First off, I say, how could you get worse than Johnson? He just lied to everybody on this 1,500-page document.
Yep.
If he was a trustworthy guy, if he was, believed he was a Christian, right, that could be up front and not a gutless little coward, he would have told people, hey, I've actually had Hakeem Jeffries, I've negotiated this for 6 weeks, and ba-boom, here you are. 1,500 pages with another couple of $100 billion, not offset, paid for, and a CR on top of it. Oh, and we slipped ourselves a pay raise and all kind of other things that were horrible about keeping programs going on and pandemic programs going on and censorship going on. I mean, if you remember that thing you threw up in your mouth when people started looking at it. That's Johnson. That's what you get. But today we're going to make him speaker because, I don't know, brains greater than mine think that this guy can deliver the precision engineering. I say it's not going to happen. But more importantly, it's what is that program they're going to push? What the MAGA base, I don't believe, is prepared to accept is continuation into Ukraine and continuation into the kinetic part of the Third World War where we're funding it. Or American troops have to go on some peacekeeper. You can see right now how they're trying to position President Trump. I don't believe they're going to accept anything but full and complete program of deportations in a humane manner, but deportations. Yeah, starting with the criminals and the crazies, but hey, all 15 million got to go, and there's got to be a program for that. This is why,
guys. And again, too, the biggest thing is remember, I want to put America first. I want to make sure that America is taken care of, and you cannot deny. This is the part that I think that Republicans continue to do. Is we continue to just move on past certain things instead of acknowledging and then holding people accountable like Mike Johnson did when he made the deal with Hakeem Jeffries, came out with a 1,500-page clean CR, and it wasn't a clean CR. But again, too, what I'm super happy about now is, okay, Mike Johnson's a speaker. We're going to move on. We're 100%. This channel, too, will call him out if he does anything that's against MAGA. But at the same time, too, I'm super happy now. They're going to officially certify the election. They're going to start putting through Trump's nominees through the cabinet so that hopefully by the time Trump takes office, January 20th, that all of his people will be in their specific positions in his cabinet. Ronald Zimmerman, thank you so much for the super chat. Let's go. Sherry Garcia, I love it. Trump trusts few people. He knows how to play the others. First term taught him a valuable lesson 100%. Y'all show Sherry and Ronald some love in the chat. One of the persons, guys, this is breaking news, that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. reportedly secures the votes to be confirmed as HHS secretary. This is big news in Washington. A lot of people, they were all skeptical, but now he's got enough votes. We've actually are hearing from Senator John Thune, who's the Republican majority leader of the Senate, on what's happened in the past week with all the attacks, but also, too, the next steps he's going to take for the Trump agenda. Check this out.
At this moment.
Well, it's incredibly tragic, Sanders, as we all know, the enormous loss of life, and those who are injured, our hearts and prayers go out to them and their families, and they deserve answers. And we intend to get those answers and to make sure that these types of attacks don't happen again in the future. And that's why, again, as has been pointed out, it's so important that we get President Trump's nominees into place. These are key national security nominees, and when you've got people who are inspired by terrorist organizations like ISIS in this country to do these types of things, we've got to figure this out so that we can prevent these types of tragic attacks from happening in the future.
Knowing that we were already seeing an elevated terror threat, as Christopher Wray clearly detailed in a hearing in Washington in March, I put this question to Secretary Mayorkas last night. Listen. He said the terror level threat is higher than before October 7th. So one might wonder why there hasn't been a change in policy that has led to that.
Well, there has been a change in policy. Quite frankly, the number of individuals encountered at our southern border on a daily basis now is lower than it was in 2019, the last year before the pandemic. We have the individuals already resident in the United States, radicalized to violence by a foreign terrorist ideology, or over the last 8 years, what we've seen, anti-government sentiment.
Not to mention, a short time before that, Mr. Leader, President Biden himself saying that the biggest threat to the homeland was white supremacy. So is this an administration that has not adapted policy to the elevated terror threat that we're seeing in this country right now?
Sandra, they are completely out of step with reality and have been for a long time, which is why we so desperately need President Trump and his team to get in place on January 20th. These guys have just completely missed the boat, and it's too little too late. They said that they responded. They didn't. This could have been fixed a long time ago. The incentive structure at the southern border has been for some time now. Just come across the border, and we will wave you in. And we've seen the results of that. We've seen crime in our cities. We've seen the threat of terrorism in this country because of terrorists who are getting across the border. Some apprehended, but who knows how many getting across the border. But we know that this is a portal for a lot of bad things. The southern border has to be secured. That's got to be job one for the new administration and for this Congress. We will work with the president and his team to make sure that it is.
Your colleague in the Senate, Tom Cotton, detailed what he sees as the ISIS threats today. Listen here.
The Biden administration for 4 years has stuck its head in the sand to the threat of Islamic terrorism. With the FBI, they've had time to chase down every grandma in a red MAGA hat who attended President Trump's rally at the Ellipse 4 years ago on Monday, or to target parents who go to school boards or traditional Catholics or pro-life protesters.
I know you're going to be speaking on the Senate floor later this afternoon as the Senate convenes the 119th Congress. Receiving just some of the excerpts of your speech, Mr. Leader, I see that you are going to say what you see as providing for our nation's defense in an increasingly unstable world. Explain to us that as we do look at the growing threat from terrorist groups.
It is a dangerous world, Sandra, and it's become increasingly dangerous as a result of failed policies of the Biden-Harris administration and a lack of strength projected on the global stage. As a result of that, you see what's happening in the Indo-Pacific, you see it in the Middle East, you obviously see it at our southern border. These are all examples of failures of policy by this current administration and why we so desperately need the Trump administration to come in and project strength on the world stage where people again respect the United States and understand what is at stake when it comes to America's national security interests.
Which is why it's
we're going to be working with the administration to get our military readiness to the place where it should be after years of underfunding by the Biden administration.
Got it. And Leader Thune, I'll finish off by playing out this sound from Senator Mark Wayne Mullen, the Republican from Oklahoma, on what is going to happen and what is at stake with President-elect Trump's national security picks. He's suggesting Democrats are going to resist these Trump nominees. Listen.
What's aggravating to me is these same Democrats that are sitting there complaining, saying that these cabinet picks and these director picks are not qualified, are the same people that literally beat Buttigieg over Secretary of Transportation. His only qualification was to be mayor.
So what are we about to see on this front?
Well, the president's put forward a number of nominees in a lot of these key positions, and we're going to do everything we can here in the Senate. We have the advice and consent role here in the United States Senate. We will perform that. We will have these hearings, allow people to ask questions, and then we will move very quickly to see that President Trump has his team in place, and especially Sandra, in those key national security positions as we look and see what happened just the last couple of days here in this country, and as we see what's happening in an increasingly dangerous world. Are you getting the sense that there will be big resistance put up by some of these Democrats? I think there will be. The Democrats obviously are going to do everything they can to thwart, to block, to slow down, to delay President Trump and his agenda, which is why we have to double down and why we have to be united as a team. Republicans in the House and the Senate and the White House working together in order to get an agenda across the finish line, despite what will clearly be a lot of, I think, very vociferous, loud Democrat resistance.
Resistance, yeah. Guys, let me tell you this. So this is breaking right here, guys. This is what I love. When I build you a show, I'm never just going to show you what I've got. I'm always looking for the breaking news, even while we're in the show, so that you always see exactly what's happening as it's happening. So we just got the news that President Trump called and convinced Ralph Norman and Keith Self to let Mike Johnson remain Speaker. The two Republicans changed their vote only after speaking to Trump. Mike Johnson owes his victory entirely to Trump. Again, this is hilarious. Trump makes a call, things happen. Also, thank you so much, Sherry Garcia, for the super chat. Let's go. Said, don't have to trust to use for our purposes. Yeah, I now that we have the majority in the Senate, majority in the House, and the presidency, I agree, but I just still don't like rhinos, guys. Y'all show Sherry some love in the chat. It's about time to say, let's see. I wanted to read the poll real quick. Nolan Alders just joined us. I said, do you trust that Mike Johnson would carry out Trump's agenda to the fullest? And out of 723 votes, 53% say yes, 47% say no. Woo! This is what Trump said, though. He posted this earlier today. The Democrats are all giddy about our magnificent American flag potentially being at half-mast during my inauguration. They think it's so great and are so happy about it because in actuality, they don't love our country. They only think about themselves. Look at what they've done to our once great America over the past 4 years. It's a total mess. In any event, because of the death of President Jimmy Carter, the flag may, for the first time ever during an inauguration of a future president, be at half-mast. Nobody wants to see this, and no American can be happy about it. Let's see how it plays out. Make America great again. So, guys, if there's anything that they're trying to do is just stick it to Trump in any way possible. I wanted to show you, too, for a quick laugh, our wonderful vice president who was asked to start the Pledge of Allegiance and actually forgot the words to the Pledge of Allegiance. Check this out. Oh, come on. Load for me. Sorry, guys, 1 second.
Join me in pledging allegiance to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the United States of America. And to join me in pledging allegiance to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the United States of America.
Gary Goose said she's a Canadian. Guys, that's a good laugh. Okay, so now we got to get down to brass tacks, guys, because there's about to be some big changes. They wanted to get Trump in there because the tax cuts are everything, guys. They want to get Trump in there because if not, now we have the actual numbers out. If we don't get the tax cuts extended, everybody's taxes on average is going up 37 to 38% in the next coming weeks. I've got the news for you right here. A lot of people are pitching a national flat tax in Trump's second term. Check it out.
Most consequential Congress of the modern era, because I believe President Trump will be the most consequential president, because very frankly, as you and I have discussed many times, we actually have to fix everything. And that has to begin on day one. So we don't have any time to waste. And I think that everybody recognizes that here.
The Republican power trifecta, I need to use a different voice when I say that, officially takes shape tomorrow with the 119th Congress being sworn in. A top item on the to-do list, addressing President Trump's tax cuts, which are set to expire, or most of them, December 31st of this year.
Here's the reality. A lot of Americans face tax increases in 2026 if an extension is not passed. Slim majorities in both chambers mean reform may be a tricky act. Our next guest is suggesting more than reform. He's pitching to instead overhaul the system with a flat tax.
Let's bring in Committee to Unleash Prosperity co-founder and co-author of The Trump Economic Miracle, Steve Moore. Steve, you wrote about this with, of course, Steve Forbes in the Wall Street Journal, but rather than just doing something kind of small or small-ish. You want to go big guns, flat tax, get rid of itemized deductions. But does that have a chance in hell?
Well, Happy New Year to you, too, Dave.
Welcome.
But look, first of all, one of the points of our piece, and boy, it's gotten a ton of attention, and a lot of people really liked what we were saying, because what we would do is vastly simplify the tax system. You would literally have a postcard tax return. Brian, you'd be able to do your sophisticated taxes in about 15 minutes, and all of us would. And so, you know, it just makes so much sense to do that. And what we argued in this piece is that the 2017 Trump tax cuts, which absolutely do need to be made permanent, they took us a long way towards a flat tax by doing two things. We lowered the tax rates, which was great, and that brought a lot of capital and jobs back to the United States. And we also did something that doesn't get a lot of attention. We doubled the standard deduction.
Yes.
In other words, people could just check the box, and they didn't have to, you know, shoe boxes full of receipts about here's my charity, here's my mortgage, here's my this, that, the other thing. And so now the only people really who take itemized deductions, for the most part, are very, very rich people. So our argument is lower the rates, get rid of all the deductions, all of them, clean out the stables of the tax code, make it really simple. And can you imagine, by the way, if we got that rate, Brian, down to 15, 16, 17%, it would be like rocket fuel for the U.S. economy.
Steve,
And you also might be able to expand the base, which makes the people, half of the country who don't pay any federal income tax or actually get money back would actually have to pay something for our military, for example.
Steve, I love rocket fuel, and I love that idea. Now, you know what you're going to hear, and they're already saying it to you. Well, Steve, if you do a 15% flat tax rate, it's going to blow up the budget, and you Republicans never really care about deficits anyway. How do you answer that?
Well, what we're talking about is limiting all credits, all deductions. The only credits would be left would just be a deduction for your kids and yourself. But you clean out so much of the garbage and all the special interest loopholes. This is something that, you know, even Bernie Sanders should get behind, because you really would make it so simple and fair. I don't think there's any chance that he would back this, but I think the American people would love it. And one last point: if you want to drain the swamp in Washington, which I bet almost everybody in this show wants to do, then no better way than to do it than to take away all the tax loopholes and deductions and special interest favors in the tax code. That's where, you know, Congress buys and sells these tax credits all the time. It's just it's so bad for the economy.
Well, the voters in America need to put the hammer down on their representatives, the very same people who will be in the new Congress, who are trying to hustle that continuing resolution, that fugazi omnibus monstrosity, and these Republicans who are trying to load it up with pork and all that garbage for the very same reason, Steve. It's a shame on them, because that's what they try and do. But anyway, I want to toss it to...
Yeah, you're right.
No, we're going to go to...
By the way, there's a lot of that green energy pork, you know, that Biden passed, which is all just, you know, a waste of money. But some of that's in Republican districts. So guess what? Some of these Republicans don't want to get rid of it now.
Right. No, they like pork as much as anybody. We want to get to this, though, because this is interesting. Billionaire investor Bill Ackman anticipates that President-elect Trump will move forward with privatizing Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. Their status has become a never-ending topic of discussion on Wall Street.
The companies are central to the U.S. housing market. They guarantee, by buying mortgages and repackaging them, they wrap these mortgages in guarantees made by Uncle Sam, the federal government. And we never got the federal government out of the mortgage business after the housing crash of 2008.
So here's what Ackman said. He said in an X post, what makes them particularly interesting today versus any other time in history is that there's a credible path for their removal from conservatorship in the relative short term, that is in the next 2 years. Okay, so is this a possibility? Could we see it? And how badly do you want to see it?
So if you drive from Washington, D.C., the capital, to Dulles Airport, you're going to see the most glitzy, 50-story high, modern office building. You know what it is? Fannie Mae. And it was all paid for with taxpayer dollars. And these people live high on the hog. You want to get rich in Washington, you get a job at Fannie Mae. It is so outrageous that this institution, which, by the way, played a very big hand in the housing meltdown that we saw in 2008. So it is really outrageous that we still have Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. They should be privatized. We put so much tax favors and so much, into subsidizing the housing industry. That's what led to the crisis that we had before. And Fannie Mae was one of the big villains in what happened in 2008. So yes, privatize it.
Yeah. The real estate lobby, Steve. Realtors.
Oh, they love it. They love Fannie Mae.
Oh, I know. I just have to make people even.
Guys, and I'll tell you this. The overhaul that needs to happen is real across the board. Housing, spending, the border, foreign policy, the politicians, the deep state, term limits, spending, everything. We are at the point that in the next 2 years, if Trump can deliver, we can reform all of these, hopefully permanently. Thank you. I got a post from Trump on Marie in just a second. Thank you so much, Mr. Norby, for the super chat. Let's go. He said, hey, TrueLife, the art of deception started with Trump, and he passed it to Johnson. Let's pray they deceive the demos at their own game. But Kamala, got to say her name right, respectful, just showed me she's a fool by not knowing the Pledge of Allegiance. She's an idiot to me. Guys, she was almost our president, guys. It was a close one. And thank you so much, Ronald Zimmerman, for the super chat. Y'all show Mr. Norby and Ronald some love in the chat, everybody. So Trump put out, Biden gave Liz Cheney a medal yesterday, even though she has proven to be totally corrupt. She, Benny Thompson, and the rest of the Unselect Committee destroyed and deleted all evidence from their crooked investigation of January the 6th. Cheney has the distinction of losing her congressional seat by the largest margin in history. The people of Wyoming understood how bad for our country she was, but Biden rewarded her only because she hated Trump. She's a warmonger of low intelligence. All she wants to do is kill people in the endless wars with no gain other than to defense companies. Liz Cheney, Crine, Adam Kinzinger, Benny Thompson, and the rest of these dishonest thugs have gotten away with horrible things under the pretense of January 6th. Nancy Pelosi refused to accept the help which was offered for security. She is responsible and admitted as much for all to see on her daughter's tape. They have destroyed the lives of many people and are rewarded by getting Biden fake medals. This is not America. January 20th cannot come fast enough. Make America great again. Yes, I have video evidence. Guys, I bring you the receipts of what has happened when it comes to people lying on Congress, especially about January 6th, and destroying evidence. Listen to this.
Ranking Member Thompson, were you chairman of the January 6th committee?
Yes.
And what was the purpose of that committee?
To look at the facts and circumstances that brought about the actions of January 6th and make recommendations as to Congress and that it would not happen again.
And so it included things up to January 6th and also including the day of January 6th.
Mm-hmm. That's correct.
Is it true that the Secret Service cell phone records were deleted for that day on January 6th?
Really?
I'm not certain that all of them. We had difficulty with getting some of them.
Was your investigation hindered in part by the deletion of those Secret Service text messages?
We could have had a better and more thorough report had we had access to all those records.
When did you discover those messages were deleted?
During the course of the investigation.
Who was the Secretary of Homeland Security at that time?
January?
No, when you discovered the messages were deleted.
Alejandro Mayorkas.
Secretary Mayorkas was the secretary of Homeland Security when you found out those messages were deleted?
Yes, as best I can recollect.
Do you recollect making this statement with Ms. Cheney? And I'll
Right
ask
here.
to submit this for the record. It's a July 20th, 2022 statement by Thompson and Cheney on the United States Secret Service's response to the Select Committee subpoena. I won't read the whole thing, but here I believe you said, 4 House committees had already sought these critical records from the Department of Homeland Security before the records were apparently lost. Additionally, the procedure for preserving content prior to this purge appears to have been contrary to federal records retention requirements and may represent a possible violation of the Federal Records Act. The Select Committee is seeking additional Secret Service records as well. Every effort must be made to retrieve the lost data as well. Do you still believe there may have been a violation of the Federal Records Act?
Yes.
And
I'm telling you
when
guys.
do you think these Secret Service records were deleted?
They 100% deleted the Secret Service records on the dang day of January 6th. Were they involved? We'll never know. They deleted the records, and Liz Cheney and all of them helped cover it up. And she got the Medal of Honor from the Presidential Medal of Honor. Guys, this is the newest tweet that Trump just posted. Now that Mike Johnson is officially the Speaker of the 119th Congress. But I wanted to say thank you so much, Mr. Norby, again for the super chat. He said, yes, I bought a new box of Crayola to make my Norby for Congress signs. I did run them down to the stubs and melting them to make new colors run together. Here, brother, let's go. Hey, Mr. Norby for Congress, let's go. Y'all show Mr. Norby some love in the chat. And thank you so much, Lenville McQuinn, for the super chat. Y'all show Lenville some love too as well. So now we have it where Trump says, congratulations to Speaker Mike Johnson for receiving an unprecedented vote of confidence in Congress. Mike will be a great speaker and our country will be the beneficiary. Hopefully. The people of America have waited 4 years for common sense, strength, and leadership. Amen. They'll get it now, and America will be greater than ever before. 100%. I love it. One of the other things I wanted to show you was that now that we have Mike Johnson as Speaker, there's so much that needs to stop. There's a lot of things that are happening behind the scenes that you don't even know about. I want to bring to you on this channel so that you know the full truth. Because, guys, I'm telling you, they are, it's mind-blowing. And we would literally have a revolt if every American knew this. Check this out.
Let's just do sources of revenues, sources of proceeds and use of proceeds. Like, where did your cash come from and where is it going to? And just keep it simple. We'll keep it very simple. And that's what you're going to have to see in this. Is like, give me the next 12 months. We're actually in a fiscal year. Tell me about this fiscal year. Where are you cutting? And where are those cuts going to come from? Is it going to come from defense? Is it going to come from the, just a random, is it going to come from the rocket program that Elon Musk is out doing a financing at a $388 billion valuation, $388 billion valuation where you just did one at $44 billion and then you just did one at $4 billion when you first started. So you went from $4 billion to $44 billion to $388 billion. Gosh, I guess that has a pretty aggressive plan in there from the Pentagon. Maybe that is what Doge comes in and takes a look at. But I'd like to see that. I'd like to see where the cuts are. Doge has promised $2 trillion a year. I don't know because the language isn't very precise. Is that over 10 years? Is it year one? It's all these, the AI, the artificial intelligence is going to help us. Where's all that going to come from? That is where this audience is going to get down into the nitty gritty. If there was an alternative and President Trump had come up with an alternative today, there would be a fight, and Johnson would not be Speaker. Of that, there's no doubt. There is a hunger and a thirst in there to get somebody else. Yeah. There just is. As much as you want somebody else, there is a big effort. And we had Sparts on the other day for a reason, to have her go through her list. And she's never really been at the forefront of these budget fights, and that's where we had her on, because she's put out a whole list of things and saying, hey, he hasn't shown me. So we'll see where her vote goes today. If she votes no, then guess what? It's go back to another round. Because Massey's a hard no, and you can only get one vote. But right now, and just to reiterate this, that Emmers is not put his hat in the ring and has shown no interest. He would have it if handed to him, and his staff is probably the most sophisticated. But hey, he ain't no Trump guy. He's just not, right? He's not. And then you got Jordan, who's as close to it, and Jordan is going to have his way to kind of say, I don't want it, and people are just saying his staff is not ready for it. So there, you're there. That's where you are there. No one else has really kind of put together, the Byron Donalds of the world and that kind of next tier of people have not put any effort to here to really make a case to President Trump or anyone else that they're prepared to do it. And so we are. But even deeper than that is, where does this go? And we're going to hit at a velocity of things that are just going to happen. And that's why this show is so important and this audience is so important. We have to look with total and complete clarity of the critical path of the process in front of us and what we have to kind of juggle and keep the eye on the ball if you want to make America great again, if you want to stop the forever wars, stop the insane spending, deport people, close the border, and seal it. If basically you want to stop the theory of their case is to invade everyone and invite everyone. If you want to stop that and at the same time not bury it yourself, because now financing the debt is going to be its own problem, and that's why you can't pay your credit cards at the end of the month. If we want to do this, we have to have maniacal focus on not simply the things that matter, but where your agency in a collective basis adds huge, massive leverage. Let's just do
guys, again, too, that's where are they going to cut spending? We don't have a clear plan. We just know that they said they're going to do it. Yet, I'm super hopeful. One of the other things that they talked about that I want to show you is that Trump said that he vows that we're going to get federal voter ID laws in place. And when they polled everybody, this is from Gallup poll, guys. This is one of the most reputable pollsters out there when it comes to asking where people's opinions are at. And 84% are in favor of voter IDs. If 84% are in favor, then why is it so hard to put them in place? Unless the only other thing that you could think about would be corruption, would be cheating, would be trying to steal an election. So this is something I'm looking forward to, guys. I'm going to bring out a list. I've been working on a list of things that have been promised, things I want to show on a list to y'all, check off, so that we can say, all right, are they doing it? How do we hold them accountable? And with this list, when it comes to voter IDs, cutting spending, getting rid of these forever wars, making sure no tax on Social Security, no tax on tips, making sure that we are reducing the deficit. I want this channel to be a part of holding these politicians accountable and making sure that we always see the truth and we don't forget it. I want to say thank you to everybody that's watching. If you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button so I can serve you every day with the top news. Remember, Monday through Friday, 2 shows a day, one on Saturday, one on Sunday. And if you don't mind, click the thumbs up like button. It really does help the channel to grow so much. We thank you for your support. We couldn't do this without you. And thank you to all of our members of the channel. If you want to be a member, the link is in the description to join. I want to get some shout outs to Ronald Zimmerman, Sherry Garcia, Mr. Norby, Lenville McQuinn. Thank you so much again to Sherry Garcia, who said, we know it, we just can't prove it. There's so much corruption right now in politics. And okay, now that we know that Mike Johnson is going to be the speaker, we know that Trump is going to be certified this Monday. The biggest thing is doing what? Keeping them safe, making sure that Trump's people are safe, making sure that how do we continue to hold them accountable, because we only got 2 years, guys. We cannot think of anything beyond that. With the next 2 years, if we got to put things in place right now, the tax cuts got to be put in place so that people can feel it. And if people feel their wallets getting bigger and they're being able, their dollar going further, they're going to continue voting for the Republicans again in another 2 years. If not, we're going to relive what happened back in 2018. And we can't have that. It's too important, just like all the things that we're dealing now. Trump's coming in. We got to deal with Ukraine, Russia, Israel, Hamas, the southern border, the deficit, the spending. Remember, guys, if we don't raise the debt ceiling in the next couple of weeks, we're going to default on our debt. That's going to be on Trump's second day of office. There's a lot of things we want to keep track of, make sure that you are informed on, because if not, we tend to forget about it. With all the breaking news that's happened every single day, it's easy to forget. And I was literally thinking about this before the show today. I want to make sure that we keep track. You know, we hold these people accountable. And as this community grows, guys, hey, next election, I want to be interviewing Trump. I want to be interviewing all the top not Trump for president, but Trump on who he's supporting for the next president, whether it be J.D. Vance, Vivek, DeSantis, or whatnot. So I appreciate your support in helping to grow this community. If you, like I said, if you haven't subscribed, please do so. We are here for you. Love you all. Appreciate you, and we'll see you in the next one.